What's going on, guys? Welcome into the Kosis Sports YouTube channel. My name is Christian Kosis. I'm your host. I just wanted to make a quick video to cover the Cooper Kupp injury news as well as the Jeff Wilson Jr. injury news and what that has as far as an impact on their fantasy value and what sort of statistics I see them putting up now as far as targets, catches, receiving yards, touchdowns from where they were and where I had them valued to where I now had them valued. As far as Cooper Kupp with his injury and Raheem Mostert, the starting running back for the Dolphins, where I see him valued now and where I see him finishing this season. So let's start off. Cooper Kupp, I had him with 190 targets, 145 catches, 1,625 yards, 13 touchdowns. He was in line for a great year. I thought he was going to have a phenomenal season. He was on pace last year before he got injured to outproduce Justin Jefferson's season last year. He was going to put up another historical campaign like he did when he won the Triple Crown a few years ago and won the Super Bowl MVP. The reality is that this is now a re-aggravated soft tissue injury that's just it's going to linger for a while. And I don't know how long it's going to linger. No one knows how long it's going to linger. But the fact is these soft tissue injuries are not great, especially for receivers, especially for someone like Cooper Kupp, who's going to be seeing a lot of work. And so unfortunately, I do, have him down a bit in my rankings now. He was number 2. Now he's wide receiver 6. I moved him. I basically, actually, he's wide receiver 5 because Garrett Wilson's taking his spot in the top 5. So that I'll talk about that a little bit. So I have him now at 161 targets, 123 catches, 1,381 yards, and 11 touchdowns. So I think he's still going to have a solid campaign this year. I think he's still going to have a solid season. Still going to be worth that, back end of the first, front end of the second value on him. If you can get him there, if you can get him close to the back of the first, cool. Probably can't in a lot of home leagues, but with the injury news, you might be able to. You might be able to get him in the early second, mid second if he falls a bit, like kind of where Derrick Henry's been falling to the middle of the second sometimes I've seen. And I think that that's good value. But as far as where I was taking him at the top of the first, middle of the first, obviously not ahead of Justin Jefferson, right? I mean, he's my number 1. Cooper Kupp was the player I was taking after him. And then from there is some running backs and then back to Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase. But now it's clearly Justin Jefferson. And then I have Tyreek Hill as my 2 now. Jamar Chase is my wide receiver 3. And Garrett Wilson is my wide receiver 4. He was my wide receiver 5 before, actually. So Garrett Wilson, same production. I have him for 165 targets, 117 catches, 1,532 yards, and 10 touchdowns. So I have him putting up, a great season. And it's just the fact that Kupp's season now comes down a little bit, so he goes up to the top 4. So big news there. More big news out of Miami. Jeff Wilson Jr. goes to IR. He's going to miss at least 4 games. He wasn't able to really protect himself, is what the coaches explained, from tackles and from balling, and so they're going to give him some time off to really recover. Devon Achane is someone who benefits a lot from this, not necessarily early on production wise, but he was kind of injured too, and he was somebody that I saw as maybe a later in the season value. And, late bloomer because he was kind of injured. He's dealing with the shoulder. He's week to week. I thought, maybe he was going to be buried on the depth chart to start the season, but kind of show and his talent would prove and get him on the field later in the season. And maybe he'd be able to produce a little bit. But, now he's not too buried on the depth chart. If he can get back a little sooner, he's got a chance. He's got a real chance here to do something. But, Raheem Mostert, going in the double-digit rounds of your fantasy leagues, last rounds. I mean, I got him in the last round of my home league. I'm getting him all over the place late before the injury news. Before the injury, I had him as my RB29. I believed in this guy. I thought he was going to go for 195 carries, 875 yards, 7 touchdowns. some sprinkling some targets and some catches in there. I thought he was gonna, I thought he was gonna beat his ADP by a wide margin and be, potentially push for that top 24. As the starting running back on high powered offense. It didn't make any sense to me why he was going that late. I mean, he played phenomenal last night. Yes, they drafted a rookie, but the rookie's hurt, and Raheem Mostert's not bad. If he can stay healthy, he's good. He's a great running back. He's very fast. He's very good. Good after good after contact. Phenomenal player. Health has always been the issue with him. So I have him moved all the way up from 29 to 22 now. So he's jumping ahead of Khalil Herbert, who was my 22, right behind Pacheco, who's my 21. So I see him now with 225 carries, a little over 1,000 yards at 1,010 and 8 touchdowns. So season long, not too much of a boost, right? But it's enough boost that first month of the season to really get off to a hot start in your fantasy leagues. Maybe you draft him, maybe he dominates, maybe he earns himself even more of a role when Jeff Wilson comes back and A-Chain's healthy. But what I would be looking to do in this situation, draft them late, reach for them in maybe the 10th or the 9th if you have to. But considering, the news, but draft them late or, get him now, and he's going to have a phenomenal first quarter of the season. After that, potentially you try to move him, or, maybe Jeff Wilson and A-Chain are still hurt. Then you hold him, and then you have a fantasy gem and, a starting running back in the NFL that you got at the back end of the draft. And if you went super wide receiver heavy, congrats to you. You're probably going to win your league. So that's big news on him. The biggest change as far as the Rams passing attack that I see is Tyler Higbee, given the Cooper Kupp news. Tyler Higbee was peppered with targets last year, especially after Cooper Kupp went down. Yes, Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell and, these other players, and Cam Akers is probably going to get some more targets out of the backfield, and he's probably going to go up, maybe he moves a spot up in my rankings. But I statted out. I had Higbee as my tight end 14. I thought he was going to have a decent year, nothing crazy. 97 targets, 68 catches, 510 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I thought, an okay little campaign, nothing too special, but now I have him with 116 targets, 82 catches, 612 yards, somewhere between 4 and 5 touchdowns, probably closer to 5. And now he's up at that tight end 10 spot for me, and he's barely behind that tight end 9 spot, that Evan Ingram has. So, he's kind of in that tier now to me of, Pat Freiermuth, Dallas Goedert, Evan Ingram, and Tyler Higbee. So, and then the tier after that's Cole Kmet, Zach Ertz, and Dalton Schultz. I think Tyler Higbee has a phenomenal, opportunity here to not shine. He's not going to shine. Cooper Kupp's coming back. He's going to have a good season. He's not going to, unless he tears something, Cooper Kupp's going to come play. He's just not going to be as dominant as, I and a lot of other people thought he was. But Tyler Higbee is going to really benefit from this. And if you can scoop him up late in your drafts, I'm seeing him go very, very late, last couple rounds, last round. Maybe some people are a little high on him. He goes a little sooner. But Tyler Higbee's a good target. Raheem Mostert's a great target. If you can capitalize on some of this value regression on Cooper Kupp and get him, in that second round, I'd be fine taking him there. But maybe you pair him with a more stable receiver in the first. Maybe you take a CeeDee Lamb, and then maybe, or a Garrett Wilson, and then maybe you come back around the turn and you take a Cooper Kupp, and that's perfectly fine to me because you still have that upside of Cooper Kupp being perfectly fine and hit, the setback's not a big deal, but it's probably going to impact them to a certain extent. So I want to make this video, just cover that real quick. This is important news. So if you like this video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, drop a like. If you are looking to, get into video, making your own videos, making your own content, recording, whatever, use Streamlabs Ultra. Streamlabs Ultra is the most convenient and affordable way, easiest, best quality, highest quality way to record videos, to edit. One-stop shop really for everything. So click the link in my description, sign up for a yearly membership. and start recording your own stuff. But I'm going to include my socials, Discord, and everything in the description as usual. So my name's Christian Kostis with Kostis Sports, and have a good day.